Hey guys, this is Roxum087. I just want to do a quick video about the brand new Nova Taran Tactical Innovations Combat Master slides. They make one in the Glock 17 and Glock 34. There's no 19, no other different versions. And the reason why many people in the Airsoft community have been paying attention to this is because apparently in the movie John Wick, or the John Wick 2, or whatever they call it, he's actually holding one of the Taran Tactical's Glock 34 Combat Master, but it looks a little bit different compared to the one that he's holding. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong about what I just said. I'm not entirely sure because right now I'm looking at a picture of the Glock 34 that apparently he was training with. It looks a little bit different, but I'm not 100% sure. It's because I'm not super familiar with movie guns, but this is what it looks like. It's very pretty looking. Let's first talk about what comes with the package and the price. So what you get is that you get the appropriate outer barrel for whatever slide you get, and they're both of those barrels are gold color-ish. This color is a little bit too bright for my taste, and if you look very closely, this is the Glock 17, this is the Glock 34. Notice that the markings are a little bit different. Not a big deal. And what you also get in the package, which is the same for both of these slides, is you get the extractor, fiber optic for your front sight, as well as a blacked out rear sight. And to my understanding, Taran Tactical Innovations actually makes their own rear sight for the Glock, which looks a little bit chunky. Hence the reason why it looks pretty big. Like compared to a Warren sight, this thing is actually pretty chunky, sort of. But it's quite nice looking. Like when you have it on the slide, like I personally think that looks pretty cool. And also, the interesting thing is that this screw hole goes all the way to the top over here, and that's an actual grub screw that you can take out. You can actually take this out. After you take out that grub screw or set screw, this screw, you can actually see it coming up. So that's quite interesting. I really like that is because in the event that you strip the threads here, you can just get a longer version of the screw that goes all the way up to the top. So I quite like that. You can always tap the threads if you know how to do that, of course. I probably will tap it for an M3 screw. But anyways, so here are the slides. Now, Nova normally does a very sandyish texture on their slides. So the areas here, and over here on these areas have a very sandyish, rough texture, which is very, very normal for Nova. But the interesting thing is that they did a very good job on the side polishing finish on the side thing over here. Like you can clearly see that both of these slides, they look really cool on the side finishing over here. Looks very, very nice. And the engraving is quite clean. The engraving on the top is very shallow though. Like you can tell how shallow that is. Like sometimes on different angles of the camera, you can sort of see that the logo is not very deep. That's the only deep engraving done on the slide. And this is what the other side looks like. Very, very cool looking, very sleek. I personally think it's a very fancy slide, but it's not super like it's not over the top, but it looks really good. And this is what the 34 looks like up close. Sorry, it's just a little dirty. Very, very cool. And just to show you right now, for the guide rod area for the 34 and 17, you can tell that they're a little bit different. The 34 doesn't have anywhere for the spring guide cap, the capture for the spring guide to rest on, but I don't think that'll be much of a problem. It probably won't be a problem at all. But for the 17, there is a resting area for it. Just be wary of that. It doesn't really make much of a difference if you're assembling the gun, but some people care about that, some people don't care about it. I'm just letting you know that's a little bit different. assembling the Glock 34 front side screw is just as you would normally expect. There is a hole for you to gain access to the screw, so you can assemble it in there. Nothing special. And the last thing to note is that for the Glock 34 barrel, so they both use the same inner barrel. And the reason why they both use the same inner barrel is because if you look inside here, I'm going to need a light, just give me a moment. Can you see what that structure looks like? So you see that there's an inner structure over here. That inner structure is about right over here. That structure is meant to support a Glock 17 inner barrel. It's not meant to support an inner barrel that's too long. Okay, so this is for a 17 length inner barrel only. Do not just because the overall outer barrel is for a Glock 34, it does not mean that it can use a longer inner barrel. You still have to use a Glock 17 inner barrel. If you use an inner barrel that's too long, what will happen is this. This slide, all Glocks do this. All Glocks have to have the outer barrel sink down and do that. They have to sink down and do that every single time. If you have an inner barrel that's too long, this action is delayed, or it might not even work at all without you having to do a lot of modifications to get that to work. So there is a way that you can get these outer barrels to use a longer inner barrel, but the amount of work and the amount of effort that it takes to do that is generally quite complex, and to my understanding in Airsoft, I can't name anyone who actually does that. But you can do it if you wish. You absolutely can. It's just that if you're a regular Airsoft guy like me, you're just probably assembling this for looks, so you probably won't be doing that. And as you saw earlier, the outer barrel fitment is not bad. Yes, there is a bit of wobble. When it comes to Glock slides, I'm not expecting there to be like absolutely no play. There is a bit of wobble, which is not too bad. If it's too tight, the gun won't move. Okay. That's just the nature of it. It's not like a 1911 or a high kappa where the outer barrel just more or less stays still most of the time, or pretty much all the time. And this is how the fitment is going to be like on a Glock 17. If you have a Glock 34 or a Glock 22, it will feel a little bit stiffer. If you have it on a Glock 17, it will feel a little bit smoother, especially when you have a blowback housing unit in the slide. The reason is because the Glock 22 and Glock 34, the trigger bar disconnect is harder. So that's the reason why they feel a little bit stiffer moving when you have it on a Glock 22 or 34. I did make a video highlighting that problem. It's not an actual problem. It's just that if you feel that it's stiffer, that's the reason why. It's because the 22 and 34, the trigger bar disconnect is stiffer. Okay? And it's also a bit different. But it's still compatible with 17. Anyways, enough of me rambling. Let's just quickly show you what the fitment is like. So, man, that looks so cool. Jesus Christ. So there's a lot of wobble, as you'd normally expect. There's up and down play, side to side play, up and down play, side to side play at the front. So it's loose all around. So when you assemble this into a Glock 17, it's probably going to be a drop-in fit. You probably don't have to do much work to get this to move. I highly doubt you have to do any work, if at all. So, personally, I'm going to be assembling this onto a garter frame. I'm probably going to leave the internal stock. I'm going to use the 17. The 34, I'm going to build for looks only. So, since I have to build 2 pistols, I'm going to need a little bit of time. I'll probably post that later on. I will be building this soon. It's just after Chinese New Year right now, and I'm Chinese, by the way, and I'm a little bit tired, even though I had a break. I'm just a little bit tired, not too tired, but you know, I'm a food drunk from Chinese New Year. I love green fiber optics. They look so much cooler. And the extractor fitment is... The extractor is very shiny looking, by the way. So you can tell how shiny looking that is. But I think that looks pretty cool. I personally like, I really like the look of the 17 and the 34. They look absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad I picked them both up. Anyways, let's start building the pistol.